Well, a lot of people have seen the road closures, a lot have seen the highways even closing. What is the status of roads in North Carolina right now after Hurricane Matthew?
We are assessing. We're continuing to assess and identify those areas that are going to take longer term repair. Most importantly, identify those areas that can be traveled safely. Governor McCrory and I are both very interested in, as our traveling public is interested in, making sure that we're safe. We have to do assessment beyond the point where the road just dries out, and so for some people it will seem like we keep them closed longer than we need to, but I assure you we're not closing them any longer than we have to make sure that we've checked out any subsurface issues that may require treatment.
Yeah, I'm sure with all the water that's been coming through under bridges,
Right.
I'm sure bridges have to be re-inspected even before they can be cleared.
Right. Bridges in particular have to be evaluated. Those that are actually in rivers, we have to evaluate whether there's been scour around the pilings that weakens them. In some cases, some of the older bridges that get overwashed can be displaced in a storm and actually move sideways, and it's not immediately apparent necessarily from visual inspection from the top. As I say, the governor has been really deeply distressed by the losses that have happened in North Carolina. I've seen that from his personal reaction to these people that have been lost in these tragic accidents, and we want to make sure that we don't have any more of that.
Speaking of the accidents, people being washed away into the creeks as they try to drive across these
Right.
water spots, there is no reason to do that.
Well-
We've heard it for years of our whole life. Don't drive across flooded areas. It's still very important for people to get that information.
It's a deceptive thing even during the daylight to see some of the water moving across a road. It seems like it's pretty smooth, but then when you actually get into it, you realize there's a current there. And so there's really no reason to evaluate that by using your car. The message is, don't test the water, just avoid it. And the governor has said that over and over, and I would repeat it. It is critical for people to understand that they can't tell the hazard in daylight, and so imagine at night how little chance you have to tell. There's not any trip that is worth making that risk.
For fixing these roads is not as simple as just throwing
Right.
some dirt back in the hole
Right.
where these roads have been washed away. There's a lot of stuff that still has to be re-engineered on some of these roads.
Well, in particular, the heavier traveled roads, the roads with the heavier weight limits, are actually structures. They are built up from solid ground, and they are constructed. And so when you have subsurface damage and you weaken that construction, then you can have failures in the near future that will cost us even more, potentially in accidents and cost to repair, than if we get a good evaluation of it now. So that's a focus. There's a section of I-95 that has been closed for a number of days near Lumberton that has got a railroad bridge going across. So even after the water goes down for us to be able to evaluate it, we have to not just evaluate I-95, but pieces of infrastructure that are near it. And so, as I say, I'm just hopeful that the public will be more patient than I am about being aware that we have a challenge to make sure that we are evaluating things that you can't necessarily see. There's a bridge in a rural area that I saw where the subsurface area, the road is undercut by about at least a third, but the surface of it looks perfectly fine. And so I've made the example 2 or 3 times, but I think that's the main message, is that we're going to rebuild the infrastructure where it's necessary and immediately reopen any of the infrastructure where it's possible.
The other thing we have to worry about as the conditions continue to improve, there's also going to be chances for levees that have been compromised, could break. There might be more flooding, more roads could be closing.
I believe that the state now has gotten tired of hearing that this is a moving, slow motion disaster, but that's really what it's been. And so as rivers crest and move on, we're able to find, Governor McCrory said we have a 3-part problem right now. We have parts of the state that have already been hit and are now reconstructing, parts of the state that are being hit, and parts of the state that will be hit soon by the flooding issue. And that's just something where we're going to have to work on it bit by bit in the places where we can get to, and just ask people to be patient.
We got highway patrol out, we got local officials out, we have all sorts
Sure.
of people out. What do regular citizens do as they come across roadways that look like they've been washed out or have been compromised?
Well, we certainly are counting on people to call in, call 911 to report issues with roads. That would certainly be valuable. Beyond that, we have an online way to report from your mobile phone. If you go to ncdot.gov/contact, there is an online form that people can report any time of the year, not just in this crisis. But mostly, the key to this is for people to recognize things that have already been identified. The governor said the other day that people have been driving around barriers. We don't understand that at all. If you see a road that's already been closed, there's a reason it was closed. And so we hope that people will understand that and just travel safely.
So the final word is be patient, please.
The final word is to be patient and to understand that while a road just looks like a piece of asphalt on top of dirt, there's a very complex structure there a lot of times that needs to be evaluated.